Hello everyone, Tyraptor 101 here. Today I'm doing a video One Eye versus jp3 spinosaurus. Now, if you don't know who One Eye is, I don't blame you. He was a dinosaur from or the main antagonist from Dino King. It's just a movie you can actually watch on YouTube. You can actually watch the movie on YouTube and you can pretty much see how One Eye was the main antagonist and some things he done in that movie was how we're first introduced to him was we see him on top of a cliff waking up, and we see him looking over a little rocky area seeing an ankylosaurus. Now I guess he's hungry, so as he's looking around he realizes there's a big rock. As he pushes the rock down, it lands directly on the ankylosaurus's tail club, leaving the ankylosaurus defenseless as he easily walks in, mercilessly killing it before devouring its corpse. Later on in the movie, One Eye, as Speckles and his family are trying to hunt, causes a massive stampede which kills Speckles' brother and causes two of his sisters to get knocked off a cliff. His mom gets temporarily knocked out, and now, as One Eye and his mom go face to face, fighting over the territory, the fight is relatively short, and One Eye obviously has the edge. He's easily grabbing her and throwing her around, pinning her to the ground. She manages to get one good kick on him, which actually does make him bleed, but he easily recovers from this, and it just seems to piss him off. He proceeds to push her towards the cliff before eventually throwing her off. Now, for what happens after, we see him a few times. We see him once when Speckles is trying to get his food. One Eye's like, come back, and now he's in Speckles' old home in their nest. He's made this his own. And now later on, we see Speckles, walking around the area, and he ends up, seeing One Eye watching a bunch of Taurosauruses fight. The older male Taurosaurus gets his horns broken off in combat. That's when, as the horns get broken off, One Eye decides to go for that older and wounded male. The male Taurosaurus runs, and One Eye gives chase. A young juvenile Speckles watches from the bushes as One Eye begins to chase. As the chase happens, the Taurosaurus runs past the Therizinosaurus. Shit. The Therizinosaurus is one that Speckles remembers from his childhood, one that almost killed him. Um, and he knows how dangerous this thing is. And that's when we see that One Eye and the Therizinosaurus fight, and One Eye knows Therizinosaurus's claws are deadly. But then One Eye sees a tree. Therizinosaurus swings its claws forward, trying to stab One Eye. One Eye quickly stepping to the side, leaving its claws stuck in a tree, allowing him to walk around and get a finishing blow. Later on, we also see One Eye at a mud pit. Now, Speckles is an adolescent, and he's kind of like a young teenager, right? And he's at a mud pit with his new friend, Blue Eyes, another female Tarbosaurus that I guess is abandoned as well. Something happened to her. But as the two live out their days, as they've now are trying to hunt a Parasaurolophus, One Eye sneaks up on Blue Eyes, and now the two of them start to fight. And Speckles tries to come in, but both of them are just far outmatched. Both of them together are just no match for One Eye. And not Speckles, Blue Eyes, just easily gets headbutted and sent flying like 10-20 feet away. Then he tries to kill Speckles, or Speckles bites One Eye, and then One Eye starts to attack him. And Speckles used that thick mud tar to get One Eye's feet trapped. And as One Eye's like struggling, he's in the mud, He slowly starts to sink, and it gets up to like his waist, and it seems like, yeah, he should die here, but somehow, some way, it's sheer will alone, he rips through the mud. Remember, this mud is thick, it's tar. You can see sauropod skeletons in it, showing that whole sauropods have wandered here and gotten stuck. But yet he rips through the mud. You see mud and tar all over his legs. And he doesn't even seem to be, like, he's just like, he does seem to be exhausted, showing that he probably had to use a lot of strength to get through. But he still is not really phased from it and chases the two of them off. Later on, we see Speckles killing a Torosaurus and One Eye watching from a distance. Later on, as Speckles and Blue Eyes are eating, we learn that it's kind of the breeding season. They've seemingly bred or about to breed. As they're eating the meal that Speckles has brought, we see that One Eye is above them. One Eye pushes a rock down, pushing Speckles off of the edge of the cliff that they're at. Now, One Eye comes down and now turns to face, Blue Eyes and him get into a fight. And you can easily see Blue Eyes is still outmatched. In a 1v1, she's outmatched. He easily overpowers her, and it seems, as the narrator seems to suggest, One Eye came out this way, trying to find Blue Eyes, or a mate in general, to carry on his legacy, but he tries to take her by force. And just what it seems like, yeah, he's won, and he walks towards her. She's on the ground. Speckles somehow magically is able to teleport to the top of the cliff. The cliff isn't like rocky and there are little ledges to where it's possible he could have climbed up. Somehow, some way, he just ends up on top somehow. I swear, some of these One Eye and Speckles have some magical ability to teleport. I'm telling you. But somehow, after surviving, or not necessarily surviving, but getting back up, he is now face to face with One Eye. One Eye and him fight, but Speckles is still scared of One Eye. One Eye's roar is just able to scare Speckles, and just causes him to freeze, allowing One Eye to easily get the edge and upper hand. Soon, though, Speckles gains the courage and the strength to fight back. I think there was a little bit of sprinkling of plot armor, the fact that he got that strong all of a sudden, but okay. As the fight goes on, Speckles is able to get the edge over One Eye, hurls One Eye. One Eye rolls over and slides along the ground. One Eye gets up, deciding that it's not worth fighting. He best go. We don't see him for a while because Speckles beat him, so I guess One Eye was like, yeah, alright, I'll be back. And soon as a volcano erupts, and a volcano causes a forest burn, and causes most dinosaurs into a huge migration, trying to find food and water. Most of them are dying on the way there, and only the strongest survive the trip. Sadly, Blue Eyes dies on the way there after some wounds she sustained when they were trying to escape the volcano. The wounds and lack of food and exhaustion, she gives up on the way. She collapses and dies. Or is about to die, seemingly. But that's when on a migration we see One Eye again for the final stand. Him, Speckles, and One Eye are now face to face once again. The two fight it out, and they can see that Speckles in his prime is able to, land some heavy blows. It is able to keep One Eye on the edge. The One Eye uses his intelligence and experience, as well as his larger size and bulk, to try to overpower Speckles. Speckles tries to, push One Eye around. He uses his uses that you know One Eye's speed and experience against him. Soon, in the midst of the fight, One Eye, well, not even trying to, One Eye would have killed him anyways. One Eye's tail accidentally smacks into Speckle's son, sending him flying off the cliff. As One Eye, then as Speckles is distracted, tries to attack, One Eye gets smacked. And here's one thing I want to say: One Eye falls. And as he falls, he's falling. Now remember, all of his weight and size slam against a rock that is slightly pointed up, and it hits him directly on the lower back. And he falls into the water. Now you may think this impact is strong enough to kill him. It should be strong enough to kill him. And yet, less than a minute later, he gets to the surface of the water unfazed. And instead of deciding to go to the land, he decides to go for Speckles' son. And Speckles ends up having to jump down to save Junior. And as him and One Eye get into a fight, we learn that Tylosaurus are around and seemingly smelling blood, even though we haven't seen any one of them bleed. Seemingly implying that one of them is bleeding, but I don't see any blood. As the fight goes on, soon One Eye is starting to lose, and Speckles is getting tired out, and Speckles tries to drown One Eye, holding his head underwater, keep ducking his head up and down, and eventually Speckles tries to go for Junior to realize that One Eye is still alive, and One Eye clamps onto Speckles. Speckles, tired and exhausted, is pretty much defenseless and at the mercy of One Eye. As all of a sudden, one of those Tylosauruses just bounds up in the water, and they say they're 100 feet long. And as one of them grabs One Eye, we just see how really big it is, as it just easily drags One Eye back to the bottom of the ocean, and there's no way possible he could have survived this. Now, if you know anything from the Spinosaurus from jp3, its story is pretty much as follows. We first see it when, well, we don't see it at first, we hear it first. And then we see it chasing, killing that one guy, I think it was Cooper. And that scene was pretty sad. How, he was like, please stop. And the guy was like, I can't stop this plane. And the Spinosaurus grabs him, killing him anyway. And the plane hits the Spino, now causing the Spinosaurus to chase them all over the island to get revenge. We see it kind of chasing them around. It rips through the plane pretty easily. And then it has to go face to face with a T-Rex. As they're running, Spino gets trapped in between some trees. They end up running into a T-Rex that is seemingly, started to eat a carcass, possibly of a Triceratops or something. Seemingly, that's what it seems to sound like. But not sound like, look like. We then see the bull T-Rex and the Spinosaurus go head to head, and the Spinosaurus kills the bull T-Rex by snapping its neck. And then we see that the Spinosaurus now goes after them once again. We see it again at the fence as it chases them. It tries to shove its head through a hole in the fence. That doesn't work. And then the Spinosaurus, as it turns around and seemingly walks away, is actually trying to set up a ram as it runs head first, slamming through the fence. But right after, it can't bust through less than 2 inches of metal. After it then slammed through a 3-inch, a bunch of 3-4 inch steel bars easily, seemingly. Just saying. But the final scene we see him in is the river scene. And we see the Spinosaurus trying to push the cage. Push the cage that they're in over, and it ends up getting distracted as one of the people was gets on this giant crane and tries to distract the Spinosaurus. The fire, oil spilling all over the river gets ignited by a flare, which causes the Spinosaurus to screech in immense pain and probably scared out of its mind or where the fire even came from. As it seems, the fire gets on the Spinosaurus, causing it to run away in fear. This is one interesting thing, but of course, it's not like any dinosaur would realistically be scared or not scared of fire. So, who do I think would win in a fair 1v1 combat match between the two? Well, they're both not main antagonists, but main villains of the story. And I think overall, one thing to mention about One Eye is that in the last two fights I discussed, when I was like One Eye was trying to find a mate, it was trying to mate with Blue Eyes, and in that final battle on the cliff's edge on the river on the sea, um, One Eye was old. You have to remember all of this happened when Speckles was when One Eye killed Speckles' mother or parents. One Eye had to be like in his prime, or at least just getting out of his prime. So you have to remember when he's fighting Speckles in that final battle, he's not as young as he used to be. He's still equal match, and definitely Speckles definitely would have lost if it wasn't for the Tylosaurus coming in. Um, and definitely I feel like the fight definitely came down when One Eye had him. It was probably going to kill him when they were in the water. Definitely came down to One Eye's experience. He's definitely a monster that's going to think out situations before running straight in. And the Spinosaurus does seem to be more brutish, and it was disgusting. It isn't too smart. But one thing it does have on it, I wouldn't say have on it, but it does have aggression. Like it is same aggression as One Eye, and also is just as frightening. Or oh yeah, just as frightening, I guess. But it has longer arms, which can allow it with its range attacks and allow it to hopefully, use those to keep One Eye at bay. But will these help it in this fight? Well, let's see. So let's go with strength and bite force. Well, obviously, I think One Eye will get this. As bite force, he's shown have a strong enough bite force to outright kill an Ankylosaurus in one bite. He was able to kill a Therizinosaurus in one bite. He was able to cause Smother and Speckles and Blue Eyes extreme pain when biting them. And when it comes down to strength, he has immense strength. He's able to push a rock that is like, let's say, 35 to almost 40 feet tall. Well, I wouldn't say 40, but let's say 30 feet tall, right? Or just under 30. He's able to push this rock. Remember, he just wakes up and he looks at an Ankylosaurus. He realizes, okay, if I'm gonna kill this thing easily, I'm gonna have to disable that tail club. He sees a rock, walks towards the rock, and pushes it over relatively easily. Like, this is something that doesn't really seem to be difficult for him whatsoever. Like, he easily just shoves this over. It falls in Ankylosaurus' tail club. Then he somehow teleports down there where Ankylosaurus is and kills Ankylosaurus in one bite. I mean, come on, really? And, he also shown to do this multiple times. He's able to ragdoll a young one Blue Eyes, able to ragdoll Speckles, he's able to ragdoll his mother is able to ragdoll any animal he's ever fought. So, to get this straight, he's beaten everything else in the movies he's fought. Everything, either from brute strength or intelligence, using those two to win every battle, and plus his experience. This man is extremely smart. And compared to the Spinosaurus, who is more of a brutish fighter, we definitely see it. I think it was somewhat able to make the T-Rex bleed, but it doesn't seem to have done much damage. And plus, we haven't never seen One Eye ever bleed. Maybe that one time where Speckles' mom kicked him, but that just seemed to piss him off. Look how much blood he spits up, and then just like, right after, just pisses him off. Yeah, so I definitely think that the Spinal's claws probably wouldn't do much, and even if they did, One Eye would probably find some way to, get the edge over him, like break his arms, or, if he's smart enough, he'd probably figure out that its sail is a main weak point. It would probably grab his sail or push him over, maybe use a rock to crush his sail, killing him instantly. But, in a head-to-head fight, One Eye easily gets strength and bite force because he's a T-Rex and how big and bulky he is. Plus, he's able to shove around rocks. The Spinosaurus couldn't even push down a tree that was in his way. So what really makes you think if One Eye was faced with that tree, he would have lifted up the tree's roots and everything and sent that tree flying 20 feet away. That is just facts. Plus, right after, we see that One Eye is also, when it comes down to oh my god, speed and agility, he does show to not be too fast or too agile, but I would definitely think when it comes down to speed, he's definitely a bit slower and a bit not as agile, but he still would be able to keep up with the Spinosaurus. The Spinosaurus wouldn't have a major advantage over him. It would be a slight advantage, plus with the Spino's longer arms and longer range, that speed and agility would go a long way for him. Now, another thing that could allow One Eye to get speed and agility is, or what, well, not the Spinos, because we see the Spino easily catch up to Alan Grant. And then he had a massive advantage, or massive gap when they're running, and massive head start. And we don't really see that when One Eye. Now, we do know that One Eye, when he was chasing after the herd, wasn't really trying to catch them. He was trying to allow the herd to mow through Speckle's family, or at least wound them and soften them up for him to go in and just pick up the pieces. And that is a smart tactic. I could see him doing something like that with the Spinosaurus, because there are a lot of dinosaurs on East Lasorna, and I could definitely see him doing this. Now, we also see that the Spino is pretty agile, looking at how it was able to somewhat a little bit outmaneuver the T-Rex in Jurassic Park 3, and it was also able to also catch Alan Grant's defense. So I would give the Spino a slight, when I say slight, I mean slight edge on speed and agility. Now for experience in weaponry. So, weaponry, I think I already said this, but I think I would give that to Spino, because its claws and also its snout is also longer, so it might give it a slightly longer range when it comes down to, facing One Eye. Now, here's the thing about it, though. The Spino may have more range, but it doesn't have the more damage. One Eye would outweigh the Spino when it comes down to damage. It would just, but I do think the Spino can dish out enough damage that it could survive and dish out a good amount, enough of damage that, could have One Eye on his toes. But when it comes down to experience, we don't know exactly how old One Eye is, but I do know that he does seem pretty old, and looking at how his scarred body is definitely old and experienced. He definitely knows what he knows about his surroundings and knows how to fight, and he learns quickly when fighting to easily overwhelm an opponent. And if one tactic doesn't work, he'd easily switch to a new one. Now, so experience goes to One Eye, and weaponry, a slight edge to Spino because of his claws and teeth. Longer snout and teeth. One Eye just really has jaws, but though he can deliver some massive kicks that could do some damage. Now, I think what's next, because so far our tally is no, strength and bite goes to one eye, speed and agility Spinosaurus, experience one eye, weaponry Spinosaurus, intelligence one eye. If I haven't said that, probably have. Just don't. I'm sorry, guys, if I already said that. Now aggressiveness and durability. I do think that one eye. Oh, I think I'll give them equal for aggressiveness, because they both shown to be pretty aggressive and shown to be able to go toe to toe with their targets, able to chase them for miles for little things. Well, no, I don't think One Eye was necessarily after Speckles the whole time, because I think it was a bunch of damn coincidences they ended up keep meeting up as they did. Even Speckles said in his little director monologuing thing, where he's like, some evil fate has brought him back to me. One Eye didn't fight. Well, he fought him he fought him purposely, but he wasn't purposely seeking him out the whole time. He just sees him and it's like, okay, I'll get a little revenge. I'll kill him this time. And he does the same tactic he does with his mom. So he's he's a psychopath. One Eye also shown to be able to go, when it comes down to aggressiveness. The Spino definitely is pretty aggressive. It chased the humans all over the island. And I agree that would be equal. Now, between them, durability. Okay, let me talk about this. So, the Spino gets shot. Well, we hear at least get shot. We don't exactly know where it got shot, if the shots missed or what, right? I'm assuming they hit it because we hear it roaring. But other than that, we don't really hear much of or see any wounds on it from gunshots. But then when a plane hits it, now the plane didn't hit it directly, but the plane did hit it. And the plane hits its spinal sail, and it causes a massive splash of blood to go all over the plane. And after this, the Spino has to go up against the T-Rex. And we see the T-Rex in one bite able to make One Eye bleed. And then we also see that the Spinosaurus does get hurt by fire. Now, when it comes down to One Eye, we don't exactly know how fire does affect him, because we've never really seen him get ignited. But one thing we do see him taking is lots of bites. And he took bites, I believe, from, Speckles' blue eyes, all over his neck and body, and he never bled. And then we see that, One Eye is definitely outright stronger than Spino in this, right? And so, he has a lot of bulk on him. And that bulk kind of helps him survive a lot of attacks that would normally kill the Spino. Like one situation, the Speckles slaps One Eye off a cliff with his tail. One Eye slips off the edge, and as he slips, he falls. When his back is face down to the ocean below, he falls and he hits his back on a rock, and a sharp, jagged rock. And this would kill the Spino because of the Spino's sail, right? But when this hits, it hits right on his hip bone, or on his spine. And this attack causes the One Eye to roar in pain, but doesn't seem to have enough strong impact to outright kill him. One Eye wasn't really even fazed by this too much. And this alone, I think personally, would give me the output to say that One Eye would easily get durability. So the final tally is One Eye gets bite force and bite effectiveness. He gets feats or strengths. Gets durability, aggressiveness, intelligence, and experience. and Spinosaurus gets weapons and speed and agility. Now, here's the thing. If I see this fight playing out, and One Eye can sense, because One Eye definitely has good senses, and I could definitely see him, easily sensing the Spino before the Spino senses him. And I could definitely see him being the aggressor in this fight, fighting over territory or trying to take the Spino's territory. If One Eye was in Jurassic Park 3, when the Spinosaurus, instead of like One Eye, or the Bull T-Rex being there, if it was One Eye would easily demolish the Spinosaurus. Like that scene where the Spinosaurus and Rex lunge at each other, and the Rex gets the first grab. If One Eye gets that first bite, it's over. One Eye would grab the Spinosaurus, it would spin him around, and throw him. And this would either knock out the Spinosaurus or daze him, but that alone would give One Eye able to land that finishing blow. Even if One Eye is struggling against the Spino's slightly faster speed and his agility and those long arms, he's definitely durable enough to where he can tank a lot of these attacks until he gets to the throat of the Spino, or is straight up just able to, grab onto its head and crush it. Looking at what he did to the Therizinosaurus and the Ankylosaurus, the Spino's neck isn't too thick, and which pretty much means that one good grab from One Eye's sharp, straight, peg-like teeth would go right into the Spino's throat and cause him to cough up blood and would just crush it. Even if One Eye's bite wasn't strong enough to even pierce the Spino's hide, he's still strong enough. Like, he's able to push a boulder that has to weigh over 10 to 20, maybe even 30 tons. And he pushes this off a cliff easy. He didn't push this far, but still, the fact that he's even able to make this move an inch is impressive. If he grabs onto the Spino's sail and is able to pin the Spino down with that much strength, he would be able to rip a chunk off of its sail, if not rip off the Spino's whole head. The only way the Spino's winning this is in water, and we see that One Eye is still an okay swimmer, and he can swim and he can fight okay underwater. So it still wouldn't be an instant win for Spino. As soon as the V-Rex gets its jaws around the Spino's neck, even in water, it's over. The only way the Spino's winning this, if the Spino really plays this smart, and it doesn't really seem to fight smart, it seems to fight a brutish outright tactic, and a brute going up against a stronger brute, that's not going to work. I'm sorry, but it's not. The only possible way Spino could win is if it keeps dragging One Eye down, and One Eye could probably hold his breath for a while. So even in the water, I just can't see the Spino winning without some sort of plot armor or assistance or the sheer luck alone. The Spinosaurus would end up bloody on the ground, and One Eye would walk away not phased and would probably start eating the Spinosaurus without a second thought. The Spino would lose badly. Like, One Eye would win this fight 9.5 out of 10 times. The Spino gets 0.5% out of a win. This is the most unfair battle I will have ever done on this channel, and I probably will do for a while, just because of the sheer fact that it's just not fair to Spino to put him there. Now, I'm probably going to do a Zed or the, Jurassic World Dominion Giga next. Now, if anyone does see this, or maybe even V-Rex or Rexy, now I want to know your opinions and see what you think. I'll see you guys later, and goodbye.